Listen up. Do you want to farm the best decks in the game? Do you want to play the fastest, most explosive, and honestly, the most disrespectful legend in Riftbound? That's right. Darius. The dump your hand, swarm the board, chain your card combos, and win before they know what hit them legend? Because I think I found it. I think I've discovered the holy grail of Darius Tech. And heads up, as a fair warning, I don't think you're going to like it at first. You're going to look at it and go, Nick, this looks like bait. But trust me, give it a chance. This thing snowballs, it overwhelms, and absolutely steamrolls Kai'Sa, Aurora, Ramp, Aurora Misfortune, all of them. And I'm going to call it. I'm calling this right now. This very well might be the next big trend in the Darius meta in circles here. So let's buckle up. Let's get into it. I got something to show you. But before we go any deeper, I do want to establish my credentials a little bit and introduce myself properly. My name's Nick Danger, and if you've been around the Riftbound community for a while, you might have seen me around. I was one of the first players to bring Hook Darius to the Riftbound meta weekly tournaments, and that run kind of helped put the deck on the map.
We have another Darius list. This is a deck that is kind of all over the place. It's playing stuff that wants to go wide. It's playing combo pieces like Hook, and it's playing control tools like Vayne. So I don't really think this deck synergizes that well. I don't think it's a bad list, but I just don't think it has a game plan in mind. I think you've got to pick something and stick with it. Like, do you want to play go wide aggro, or do you want to play more of a controlling game? I think you've got to pick with one of those and stick with it. To me, the Vayne just doesn't really fit in this deck, and the grand stratagems aren't really being utilized that much. I think they're a lot better in Victor. You really don't have that much token generation in this list. You've got Faithful Manufacturer and Vanguard Captain, and that's it. And the Baited Hook, I really think you have to build a deck around that card to make it effective, and that doesn't seem like what this deck is doing.
And after that run, very soon after Prismaticism, he actually took my list, made a few tweaks for himself, and ended up winning the next Riftbound Meta Weekly tournament he played, which is fortuitous because he's the one that beat me in that first tournament, all right? So he beat me, loved what I had, and then ran it the next week and won with it, all right? So that is a pretty funny thing. I'm also featured in Tog's Metafy content, specifically in his Sett versus Darius matchup breakdown inside his Sett Masterclass guide. And guys, Tog isn't just good, he is the best Sett player. And if you've been even remotely interested in playing Sett at a high level, make sure you check out his Metafy. It's genuinely worth your time. I also run in a few circles of some high-level Riftbound players, and I try to stay active in the community Discord whenever I can. So whether you're just picking up Darius or you've been grinding the Darius deck for a while, I'm glad you're here. So let's go ahead and jump into the deck tech. So on the surface, is your pretty typical Baited Hook build around type of Darius deck. But there are a few big differences that make this version actually meta viable, and honestly, it's disgusting. It's absolutely nasty against Kai'Sa and Master Yi and Misfortune. So let's break this down. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, the secret weapon, Divine Judgment. It's actually can be very broken right now and just win you games just straight up. Against Kai'Sa, it's absolutely insane, and honestly the main reason why we have it. When we're playing the Kai'Sa matchup, Divine Judgment just hits so hard in this matchup, okay? It hits, if we can hit it before they rain, or before they play their Watcher, or even their Megamex, or whatever it is that they have their big drops, it just absolutely devastates them, right? Because biggest weakness to a deck like ours is that Acacian Rain. It is absolutely devastating. We have almost no counterplay to it. The only counterplay we typically have versus a Acacian Rain is holding a Spectral Matron in hand to refill the board. But even then, it's a pretty huge tempo swing. That's like our only option, all right, is to hold that Spectral Matron in hand. Like our life depends on it. So for post-rain, play Vanguard Captain, and we get the exact amount Acacian Rain is, right? So we get that back because it's 4 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shots from Acacian Rain. So they'd have to have another Acacian Rain. And if they have their second Acacian Rain, well, we don't want them to cast it, right? So that's why we need a Divine Judgment before they hit their rain, before they could do it. Now, when you start playing this matchup more, a lot of times casters will hold their Acacian Rain until they really need it, and they won't necessarily play it on curve. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It just kind of depends here, right? But once we claw forward as much as possible, get as many points as possible, get Draven on the board, then they're going to try to rain us out, right? So we really, really, really want to try to make them use their spells, make them use their power, so we could get our Draven on the board. They untap, don't have enough to Acathian Rain us. Ideally put Draven at 7 or even 8 might by conquering 4 or 5 points, because if it's at 7 might, it doesn't die to Falling Star. If it's at 8 might, it doesn't die to Falling Star plus Stupefy. It'll still die to, Falling Star plus Smokescreen, but hey, what are you going to do? That's why we're using as much of our cards as possible, aggressively as possible, trying to get those smoke screens, Falling Stars, Void Seekers, Stupefies out of their hand to dodge that stuff once we get Draven on the board. Against Dazzling Aurora Misfortune, still incredible. Now, I'm not going to say we needed Divine Judgment to beat Dazzling Aurora Misfortune, but it makes that matchup even better, because honestly, we were pretty scared of Bullet Time. We didn't have a big deal in Aurora MF. It was pretty straightforward, pretty easy, but Bullet Time, we were always afraid of. Now, we're even better. And against Master Yi, Divine Judgment kind of gives us that finishing power we need without losing tempo. And honestly, this idea did come from Tog's video on his best set list, where he showed how strong Divine Judgment was in that deck. That inspired me to test it in Darius, and once I did, everything just kind of clicked. So shout out to Tog for planting that seed here. So the real kind of hidden synergy, no pun intended here, is Divine Judgment has no restriction on hidden cards. So you can have hidden cards already out in play before the Divine Judgment. You could also, when you go to cast Divine Judgment, any leftover runes that you have, you could float the power to play those hidden cards before you cast Divine Judgment. And you also float the power before you cast Divine Judgment you can actually start hooking targets immediately after you Divine Judgment. So even if you cast Divine Judgment on 7 runes, with the Darius Leader effect, you still get 1 more energy to play. Which means that if you already have Baited Hook out, and you have any number of units out, you could float the power from Divine Judgment and still Baited Hook something to just generate that much more value. So sequencing these hidden cards like this always keeps our hand size low as well, which is obviously a combo with Divine Judgment, because one of the downsides of Divine Judgment is you have to recycle down to 2 cards in hand. But the fact that we are playing Darius, who hand dumps, as well as having access to these 5 different hidden cards that we have in our deck, it really is great synergy. So that fact alone is one of the biggest edges that this build has over the standard Darius list, and even has an edge there over the set lists that are running Divine Judgment, because we could also use that floated power to hit some Baited Hook targets. Now, I will say that there is a bit of an asterisk on Divine Judgment. I don't think it is required in all scenarios. And what I mean by that is, if Kaisa just didn't exist, if we lived in some magical alternate universe where she wasn't making up 50% of the playfield and just dominating every tournament, Nexus Night, etc., then yeah, we could start running Grand Stratagem, or even Imperial Decree, or some combination of the 2 cards instead of Divine Judgment. But just the fact that Divine Judgment is so good against Kaisa, and it's still good versus the other rampy type decks, that is why we run it. We don't live in that world where Kaisa doesn't exist. We have to adapt. So here we are. So let's talk a little bit more about our hidden cards here in the next piece of the deck tech. And everybody knows Hidden Blade's amazing, right? We run 3 Hidden Blades. Everyone runs 3 Hidden Blades. If you're not running 3 Hidden Blades in Darius, I think you're trolling. It's just too versatile. It's too good of a card. But we're also running 2 Face Breakers. And honestly, Face Breaker is broken. It completely shuts down every comeback line that Kaisa has, with something like Accelerated Kaisa with Cleaves on it or something like that, or even Student with Cleaves, Red Darius that gets readied on Kaisa's turn, Thousand-Tailed Watcher. Facebreaker really straight up brick walls each one of them, even if we don't get a chance to play Divine Judgment, because it's a 3 of in the deck, and sure, you might not see it, right? Facebreaker is still incredible against those cards. And the main thing about that in this matchup against Kaisa is we don't have to kill Kaisa's units. We just have to stop her units from killing ours, because then we still get the points. Because to Kai'Sa, to be able to do those things, like play those other cards, they have to pretty much tap out. And if they have to tap out to play those cards to get that point to kill our units, and we stop them from killing the units, our units are going to live, we're going to get extra points, we're going to win the game. Facebreaker is also really good against a lot of other matchups. It's great against like Sett. It's great against Master Yi too. Ramp Yi decks are kind of forced to tap out early to stop our tempo. So they like will rush Yi in, or they'll accelerate Tasty Faithful, and they'll drop a Deadwound Predator on us. And Facebreaker really just punishes all of those things, especially if Master Yi has to tap out on curve to play them, because it's a very common play pattern. We get so much tempo so fast in our deck that they have to start spending all of their energy to play their big units to accelerate out there. And if we could just brick wall them with Facebreaker and get that huge point lead, it is awesome. And as a bonus here, it even helps versus the Rising Star that is the Annie decks. Now, it even catches that Vi Ride the Wind combo by surprise, because, you know, traditionally if we don't have Hidden Blade in our hand versus Annie, or Hidden on the Field versus Annie with the Vi Ride the Wind combo, we just kind of lose. Well, now we have, 66% more cards that work, right? We went from 3 Hidden Blades to 3 Hidden Blades and 2 Facebreakers, which still stop the Vi Ride the Wind combo, which is incredible. So Facebreaker here, in addition to Divine Judgment, is really the glue that holds this deck's matchups together. The next piece of deck tech I want to talk about here, for those of you who don't play a ton of Darius, this might be a bit of a surprise, but that is Red Kai'Sa. All right, you're gonna be like, Nick, what are you talking about? Red Kai'Sa is like one of the best cards in the game. It's, of course, you're running it. Well, I would say, in fact, that in my testing, in a typical Darius hook list, Red Kai'Sa should be somewhere between 0 copies or 1. All right, sometimes 0 copies main and 1 in the sideboard. All right, just depending on the matchup, what you're trying to do. But the thing is, Vayne is just typically better in traditional lists. It's just better. Okay, so a lot of times we only have 4 up, or we need to hook a token into Vayne to be that strong finisher, which obviously you can't do with Kai'Sa. Now, the main reason why Kai'Sa is perfect here as a 2-of in this list is for 2 reasons. One, the main reason is that she lets us play Divine Judgment without deramping. So as we're getting to our 7+ runes, we could be very happy just playing Kai'Sa in our base and passing. And honestly, this might surprise you guys a lot of times. I sometimes even just play Kai'Sa to a battlefield just to get that 4 might there, all right? And I'll go into a little bit more about that later of why I would do that. But sometimes it's the correct play. I swear, you're going to call me crazy, but just hear me out for a little bit, all right? So that's the first main reason why it just allows us to play a 4/4 on rate for, without deramping. And the second reason here we're running Red Kai'Sa is after playing our Divine Judgment, we naturally hit 4 runes on our subsequent turn. That's how it's always going to be. We're always going to be at 4 runes after we cast Divine Judgment. And because of that, she's a great card to just cast from hand onto our base for 4 and say go. It's really, really good for that. So she's not just in for the damage, she's in for our curve synergy and to match our tempo and map out our tempo properly. So this leads us kind of into our strategy section here of how we play this. Well, let's talk about the mulligan kind of philosophy we have here. So first off, I always mulligan for my best in slot cards, all right? I don't keep any greedy hands. I don't keep, hands that say, well, I hope my draws bail me out. No, I always mull for my bists, which means I'm almost always mulling for 2 cards. I'm looking for my yellow seals. I'm looking for Baited Hook. I'm looking for Vanguard Captains. I'm looking for my 2-drops. I'm looking for a Noxus Hopeful if I have a 2-drop in hand and I'm going second. But if I'm going first, Noxus Hopeful's almost always getting mulligan, pretty much every time. So, and another thing here, even though this deck that we're making here is building around Divine Judgment, I never keep Divine Judgment in my opener if possible, because we never need to cast it twice. I want to dump my hand before I need to cast Divine Judgment, which means I need the cards in hand to cast before I get there, all right? So, this is kind of segues into our next section, which is battlefields, but we use double hand fixing battlefields to make sure we get to our Divine Judgment when we need it. So as for overall battlefield strategy, I had this nailed. This is exactly what I'll do. I'll give you all the secret info here. If you want to play Divine Judgment in the matchup, if it's a good card in the matchup, you're playing versus Kaisa, you're playing versus Master Yi, you're playing versus Green Ari, you're playing versus Aurora Misfortune, any of those things, then you want to play Candlelit first, okay? Because it helps us get to our hook, it helps us get to our Divine Judgment when we need it, it helps us set up our hook targets to be proper. It is just a really, really good card in this deck, or a really good battlefield, rather. Now, if I ever wanted to run Arena's Greatest in a list, it would take Candlelit slot. And the main reason for that is because Candlelit is really, really, really good with red Kaisa. All right? Plain and simple. Our Kaisa opponent that, we hate, that we play against all the time, they are always accelerating Kaisa on the Candlelit and getting that sweet look at the top 2 cards and then hand pick the one you want and draw it. All right. Now, one benefit for us in our current deck is we're also running 2 red Kaisas, so we still get that benefit often, but that's not the main reason why it's there. It's there to set up our hooks, to set up our Divine Judgments properly, and very often to close out games when I capture Candlelit. I'm literally looking for Face Breakers and Hidden Blades because the only thing that can beat me is a rushed out Thousand-Tailed Watcher or a big Darius or an accelerated Kaisa or something like that. So I need to just say, no, you're not allowed to do this. So I very often, when I get to mid to late game, I start looking for those cards in Candlelit. Now, if Divine Judgment is bad, when you're playing against the scrappy decks, like your Annies and Setts and some weird Lee Sins and Purple Yasuos, whatever it is, in that case, we're running Zon Warrens in game 1, all right? Because if we do draw Divine Judgment, we're never casting Divine Judgment in those matchups, so it is the perfect card to discard, okay? So our game 1, if we're playing against those scrappy matchups, we're just discarding Divine Judgment with Zon Warrens. Now, when we're going to our subsequent games after game 1, if we are going to go first, as if we lost the first game or we lost the second game and we're going to be going first, we just play whichever battlefield we didn't play on the very first game, okay? Which is Candlelit or Zon, whichever one you didn't play, all right? But our going second is always going to be Trifarian Warcamp as a battlefield. Now, this is a pretty hot topic, point of contention, but I am a firm believer that Trifarian Warcamp in our deck going second is ideal. And the reason why is because, firstly, it's like broken, all right? Trifarian Warcamp is probably the top 3, if not, it could be arguably be better than top 3 strongest battlefields in the entire game. The amount of advantage it gives us is incredible. And it's kind of unbeatable for Ramp Yi or Aurora Yi, all right? They just can't beat it, all right? So my logic is, if I'm running Trifarian Warcamp, I'm doing it because I'm at my weakest position, which is going second post sideboard. All right, so from my weakest position, I want as much advantage as possible, so that's why I'm playing Warcamp. Now that we've talked about mulligans, we've talked about battlefields, let's talk about the sideboard. So the default plan when we don't want to run Divine Judgment, again, as I call them, those scrappy matchups, Annie, Sett, etc., we're just cutting Divine Judgment. After game 1, we're just cutting Divine Judgment out. We're doing -3 Divine Judgment. We're going to add in our 2 Cleaves and we're going to add in our 1 Vein. All right, straight up, it's just a very easy 1-to-1 type of trade. The Divine Judgment for Veins, Cleaves, call it a day. You're good. You're happy. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, Brynhir Thundersong is here for our kind of trick tech decks. All right, so like against your Ari decks, your Yasuo builds, your anything with a ton of combat tricks, you're running Brynhir Thundersong. Just say, I'm just going to play this on my turn, and I'm going to get to do what I want, and there's nothing you can do about it, so I can close out the game here. You can't fight or fight me. You can't gust me. You can't ride the wind on me. You can't do any of those things. I'm just going to play this and then win. All right, so that's why we are running Brynhir Thundersong. And to run that, I'm normally cutting a Kaisa in a Dangerous Duo or 2 Kaisas, depending on the matchup, depending on the cards that they play. If I need to get that slightly lower to the ground, I'll bring a Dangerous Duo. Dangerous Duo is a fantastic card. Then we have Salvage. All right, Salvage is kind of our anti-Mask of Foresight, anti-Dazzling Aurora type of deck. Now, I say it is Anti-Mask of Foresight is because when I play against green, I don't bring it in just for Zhonya's. I just bring it in if they're running Mask of Foresight, because if they're running Mask of Foresight, then they're also running Zhonya's, and Mask of Foresight is very hard for us to deal with as a Hook Darius list. It just mathematically makes things very difficult. So getting rid of that is really helpful. And on top of that, if they don't hit their Mask, they still have Zhonya's that we can hit, which is still amazing value. It's still basically killing a unit by killing the Zhonya's if you think about it. And then, obviously, fantastic card versus Dazzling Aurora. If somehow we don't get to Divine Judgment before the Aurora, at the very least, we could fall back on Salvage to delete that card and continue on with our game plan of going wide and smashing. Normally, when I bring in the Salvage, it typically replaces Facebreaker. That's kind of the card that I normally sub out for it here. Now, there's the last card on the sideboard I want to talk about is Call the Weak. It's only a 1-of, all right? But I only bring this in versus Master Yi. This card is incredible in those matchups. It catches them by surprise. A lot of times, these hook lists are not running Call the Weaks, and it really just kind of gets them sometimes. You know, kill a unit. It goes back to base from Zhonya's, Call the Weak them. But also, the Master Yi's often have to tap out to kill us. Another reason just to kill their unit, move on with their day. Now, this one singular sideboard card is kind of a point of contention here because there is a magic number when you're playing a hook list. And the magic number is 26 units and 13 non-units. This is like a sacred ratio when you're playing hook lists, all right? Because the 26 units is that perfect number where you're mathematically, it is the most ideal scenario for you not to have a brick from your baited hook where you don't whiff, okay? So normally, this is where there's a point of contention is because I normally will just cut a Kaisa here into Master Yi because Kaisa sucks in that matchup. I'll cut a Kaisa, put in a Call the Weak, and that's really the only sideboard I do. It's just that one card swapped. And I swear to you, it happens. You have no idea. I've tested this matchup extensively, and if my hook misses, I see Call the Weak in the hand. It's that weird magic number of 26 units and 13 non-units that really breaks here. But still an amazing sideboard card versus Master Yi. It often just wins you the game on the spot when you're able to cast. Now, many of you may be curious how this Divine Judgment works in this Go Wide deck, all right? That's kind of another kind of secondary big elephant in the room. We're playing a Go Wide deck with our Vanguard Captains, Faithful Manufacturers, Spectral Matrons, but we're playing Divine Judgment. How does that really work? Well, I'll tell you. We trade extremely aggressively and fight for points. We're not just trying to outvalue our opponents with units. We're also trying to just get as many points as possible, especially when we know when we're casting Divine Judgment. When we don't have Divine Judgment, of course, you could play a more traditional style and maximize value. But when we know we're going to be casting Divine Judgment, trade extremely aggressively, force out resources from opponents, hit that point parity, and ideally get a point lead by stacking battlefields. All right, so I really often hold battlefields when I know I'm going to cast Divine Judgment soon because they don't expect the Divine Judgment coming, for one, because this is new. Your mileage may vary after this video, I have no idea. But this also forces opponents to overspend to deal with our swarm of units, get their highest valued cards out of their hand before we Divine Judgment. And then when we Divine Judgment, now they're only left with their not as good cards because they have to get down their total number of cards to just 2, and ideally we've made them spend their best ones already, okay? And then after that, we set up a Draven or Red Darius to finish the game. All right, that's the idea here. Draven or Red Darius to finish the game after Divine Judgment, after your opponent has to get rid of all their good cards to clear our wide board and get us off battlefields. And I really had this huge kind of rule of thumb of when to cast Divine Judgment. I don't just cast it just because, okay? So here's my rules. You only cast Divine Judgment if you already have a Darius or a Draven established on the board, or you have a baited hook out, and then you can start hooking into cheating out a Draven post Divine Judgment for very easily. If you have none of those things, if you have no Darius, if you have no Draven, if you have no baited hook out, don't cast Divine Judgment, okay? It is not a panic button. This is a proactive play to solidify our win, all right? So you need to have the setup for Divine Judgment, which is, again, either Darius, Draven, or baited hook out on the board. It's a requirement. All right, this game is versus the homie Cats. He's a really good player. You've probably seen him around. Ton of fun to play with. Great guy. This match is a perfect showcase of winning with DJ without hook. You know, a lot of times people think that there's this huge misconception that Darius without hook is unplayable. I win versus Kaisa. Great player here. Game 1 with DJ. All right, so check this out. So it starts off, again, we have our little mulligan here, and we have, you know, right off the bat, we're always looking for our best in stock cards here. So starting off with Draven, not good to start. All right, so well, actually, I skipped the mulligan. There we go. We actually end up mulling a Kaisa and mulling a Draven, and then we get our second Draven. Not good so far. We don't like to see 2 Dravens early. We want to hook into Draven. We want to cheat out Draven as much as possible. Not a fantastic start here, but it is what it is. All right, so I do rip a 2-drop off the top of my first draw. Thank goodness, because that would have been brutal otherwise. So get a 2-drop, looks good. Now our top deck's looking fantastic. Remember, always greed for Biss here. Greeting for Biss helped us out a lot. We're looking for DJ. We're looking for hook here off the Candlelit. We don't hit it, so we play Noxus Hopeful to base. We play Faithful Manufacturer to base, Noxus Hopeful to Candlelit, because again, we want to do aggressive trades, aggressive holds as much as possible. So now he can't just accelerate his Kaisa and get this point for free. He can't accelerate and play Cleave and get this point for free. If he plays Cleave on his Ravenbloom student, it goes to a 6. He's forced to trade. He has to play 2 different spells here, right? So hypothetically, he could Cleave into Falling Star, but against Kaisa, you have to make him have as much as possible, hold, make things as awkward as possible. So that's the idea here. So he's just going to Void Seeker that guy, draw a card, kill this guy with the buffed up Ravenbloom. It is what it is. It's fine. Making him use his good cards. That's the really important here. Telling him how to do, look at his top 2 cards here, skip ahead a little bit. There we go. All right, so I am currently at 6 runes here. So, all right, how am I going to do this? He's completely tapped out. Well, we just drew a Vayne. Vayne is fantastic in this matchup. Really, really, really good card. So get a 5, and I'm deciding here, do I pick up Vayne or do I not pick up Vayne? The answer is probably going to be no, because we want to play our Vanguard Captain, right? Is the idea here. Leave this 2-mite Vayne here. It is what it is. So we're just going to build our base up even more, all right? So now, what's our next top deck? He rushed Kaisas into Dreaming Tree, pretty standard play, leaves one up for Retreat or Hexray or something along those lines to cover himself. So let's see what happens here. So I'm at 6 runes, and I know at 6 runes, next turn I could play my Divine Judgment. He's currently at 6 cards in hand. He played his Kaisa out already. So the idea here is I want to play the Draven. I want to establish my Draven, make him use his cards against my bad guys. That way he can't use them against my Draven, right? So the idea here, get as many points as possible and play Draven and to set up for Divine Judgment next turn. All right, so we go to a recruit to the Kindled Sanctum, check what we got. We say, all right, well, do we need these? Well, I'll keep one of them because I'm about to trade my Vanguard Captain here. So I'll keep one of them to play on subsequent turns on the top of the deck here. So my plan, because remember, after we DJ, we go to 4 runes, and if as long as I have 2 yellows, I could play my Spectral Matron that I draw off the top, post DJ, next turn, and generate 4 + 3 + 1 + 1 might. Right, guys? I could generate 9 might off of 4 energy on the turn after I DJ. That's why I left that 1 Spectral Matron on top there. Okay, so I'm just going to trade as much as possible here, make it as awkward as possible for him, and just aggressively do this trade out. He retreats as expected, then goes up a card, goes up to 7 cards in hand, and let's see what he does on his turn after I play this Draven out to base, because I do not want him killing this Draven for free, because I need it for my Divine Judgment next turn. So I'm just going to play it to base here. It's an 8-mite Draven. It's looking good. If any deck can claw out of this position, it is Kaisa. So let's see what happens. All right, so he plays a Accelerate Kaisa to Candlelit to draw a card. Little does he know, we have a little surprise for him. All right, so he plays his Darius out the other side, kills that. So now he is currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in hand, and we are about to completely obliterate that. All right, so we're going to move the Draven up, kill the Darius because it's the most threatful unit on the board. Then we're going to pay 7 right here. Boop, 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 boop. Play Divine Judgment. Don't need to go ahead and hide the Hidden Blade because we have we have just 2 cards in hand. We don't have to do it ahead of time here. Probably still going to do that anyways because I had the power floating because I'm going to be spending 4 next turn on my Spectrum Matron with 2 runes. So therefore I need to save that extra power. Go ahead and hide it now and just have him say deal with this later. I'm going to untap, go to 7 points, right? Draven's going to go up to 10 might. I'm going to play my Spectrum Matron, send it all out here. Right now I have 1 more rune, 1 more energy I can't use. I have Hook in hand, but what are you going to do here? All right, I'm at 7 points. You went from 7 cards in hand down to 2 with 2 strong units on the board, and now you're at 3 units with a Poro in base. I have this massive lead over at Dreaming Tree, and it's just GG at that point. Nothing he could do about it. Was playing some matches against the homie Galewinds. He's playing Kaisa in this case, running some sets. This is game 2. I think he won the first game. I got beat because he tricked me. He's playing this really interesting Kaisa list that is running a little bit different than you might say. Normal list. Props to him for making this really cool list, but it's a good showcase of this Divine Judgment here. So first off, mulliganing. We want to keep active cards. You're going to immediately see I have Cold Week in hand. Why did I sub this in against Kaisa? Well, you'll find out. All right. So Mull the Matron, that's pretty normal. Mull the Draven, that's normal. We see what we get here. Good start. Going second on Obelisk. We go straight into Glory Seeker into Vanguard Captain. Get 2 tokens. Fantastic play to start off the game with. Even if you're Falling Stars us, it's not the end of the world. So he plays 2 units to Obelisk, and again, like I said, we trade very aggressively in this type of list here, okay? So I'm going to see what happens here and weigh my options. So I'm just going to move my Glory Seeker in and see what happens here. So I move it in, he says, all right, we trade, well, hold on. So he actually ends up playing Hex right here. So now I have to decide, do I want to send 2 tokens in to kill the Yordle and then send my Vanguard Captain to trade with the Ravenbloom since he's tapped out? I actually think about this for a second. I'm actually going to fast forward a little bit here, and I decide against it here. So I'm gonna end up deciding what I'm gonna do here. I move my captain up, and I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna move my recruit up here as well before I actually hook the captain here, just to see what I get here, because I might want to play to the battlefield. So I end up playing to the battlefield here, getting Spectrum Matron off the hook, which is standard stuff. Vanguard Captain and War Camp's really strong here. So we do that. He smokes, kills the Spectrum Matron, builds up a board. We go to 2 here. I get a point lead, but it's not point parity off of it. By doing so, it looks like I forgot to get my point here. But we go ahead and play the Darius, because again, we want to establish our hands as much as possible. We want to establish a big backline, so when we're ready to play Divine Judgment, that you can see that I have in hand here, when we're ready to play this Divine Judgment, we have some beefy bodies on board to work with it. All right, so I play the Darius to board, I hook a target, I hook just a recruit in this case, because I've already seen 2 Spectrum Matrons. It's unlikely to get a third. Unlucky, we do get a third here, but it's fine. Vanguard Captain's still a great hit in this case. So we throw the Vanguard Captain down, we threw another Divine Judgment to the bottom of the deck, which is awesome, because we only really want to see 1. Then I'm like, okay, well, I told him in voice comms, hey, I'm going to play this Vanguard Captain. I'm still going to decide where I put it with the recruits. We'll figure out here. So I said, all right, I'm summoning it to base and then moving it, everything else that's in the war camp back to base. So that's what happened in that case here. So looks like I actually missed a point, right? Because I should be at 3. So I wonder if I get that later. I don't even know. But looks like I don't get that point. So I'm just playing a point down this whole game, which I didn't notice that until this game started. But that's really interesting. So we're just going to keep on going from here. So here I'm deciding what I'm going to do. Play Vanguard Captain. I move Vanguard Captain to War Camp, probably looking for a hook. Go to 3, which I should be at 4, which means I don't have to overcommit here, but I always want to trade aggressively. I move my 2 units in there to see what he does against this. Does he use smoke now? If he uses smoke now, he can't use it on my Darius afterwards. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to save smoke. That's what I'm figuring in my head he's doing here, not moving Darius in there. So I just do a trade, go to 4, and then just keep developing in this case, because I have no need to DJ literally at this very moment. All right, I could, don't have to. So I'm thinking about my option here. I'm like, well, I can play all my stuff basically here. I could play all my cards. I could go down to 2 cards in hand by hiding a card, playing a seal, and then playing Divine Judgment. Then I'm down to just Cold the Weak and Vayne in hand. So I have Cold the Weak and Vayne in the hand, so I'm playing around Divine Judgment, and let's see here. So I play the seal, I hide a card, hide a Facebreaker, so when he attacks with his Mega Mech into my right side, into my War Camp battlefield, I don't have to sweat it at all. He smokes just for fun, just because he can, and I have to trash some units here, which is fine, alright? They did their job, but they got some good value for me already, and I'm going to play from this place. I should be at 5 points, but I'm at 4. It is what it is. Goof that up. So he Falling Stars me, takes that off, and then Sky Splitter. This card, the previous game before this, he was getting me with this, with his Mega Mech out, alright? He was double Sky Splittering me with Mega Mech on the board. He was played a Watcher and Sky Splittered me for 1. It was pretty brutal, killing my stuff. So that's why the Cold of the Week is in here, so I could deal with that Mega Mech card. Alright, so he goes up, takes these points, goes to 6. It's looking kind of grim, but we have Vayne. Vayne's fantastic to have here. I play Vayne to that battlefield. I use my 1 remaining energy off of my Darius Leader effect to get a Noxus Hopeful. Play that to base, say go. He's at 7. It's looking grim, right? But no. We're clawing back here. He can't do much now. He's no cards in hand. He lost a lot of point value. I play a Poro, Cold the Weak, get rid of his Mega Mech, hook the Vanguard Captain, or hook the Noxus Hopeful rather, looking for a Draven, and bam! What's he going to do about that? Nothing. I go to 7, get the point lead, play another Draven, and say, deal with it, buddy. What are you going to do? Alright, so now I have 2 10 might, 11 might Dravens on this, and he can't do anything because he lost all his card advantage, he lost his units, he had to use all his good cards already, and GG, reveals his hand. This video is a recording of a video I had against a random person on TCG Arena, and it was, I don't know this person, obviously, but I wanted to record some Master Yi matches, so I found one, which is great, and this guy I greeted against. Alright, I broke my own rule. I have Seal, Hook, and Divine Judgment in hand, and I only mull away the Hidden Blade, and that's it. And I'm like, well, I can at least draw any of my 2s or 3 drops, and I have a lot of both. I'm like, alright, I'm going to greet out, and let's see what happens here. And I got lucky, and I broke my own rule, got a Vanguard Captain, best possible start in the game here. Turn 1, Seal Vanguard Captain. Alright, so I draw for turn, he played Obelisk, and then I'm like, wow, I greeted for best possible start. I'm only running 4 red runes, and I got punished. I can't even play my Vanguard Captain. Man, my greed was still punished. So I can't even play it at all. All right, so perfect showcase here. So I'm just going to play the hook and say, go, what else are you going to do, right? So he plays Catalyst, ramps to 6 on turn 1. I'm like, man, I am in trouble. So I get a Seal, I get a Poro, so I play my Seal, I play Poro, and play it all out. I play, do this, I hook the Vanguard Captain, I, deramp myself quite a bit, but I gotta get some tempo back somehow. So at the very least, I do get a Kaisa. I can't rush it, unfortunately, but it's okay. Why is it okay? Because we're at 3, which means next turn we're at 5, which means next turn we are at 7. Right? So that's the idea. All right, so I have DJ in hand. I need to capitalize on this as much as possible. Opponent is at 8 runes. Score is still 0-0, but Master Yi, this is right in his wheelhouse, right? He doesn't even play a card from hand. He just plays Yi to candle it, filters out top 2 cards of his deck to get the ideal scenario here. He has 1 up in this case. I'm like, all right, he had 1 up. He hit a card down to 6. All right, so let's make him use his cards here, his good cards. So in this case, I need him to use that Zhonya's, right? So I go up a point, and I Zhonya's, I Hidden Blade his Master Yi, because I'm like, hey, next turn casting DJ, I don't care if he has more cards. I need to get point parity. I need to get that Zhonya's off the board. I need to deal with it. So I proc the Zhonya's. I move Kaisa up, get a point off Candlelit. It's great. I draw into a Hidden Blade after I bottom the other 2. Fantastic here. I'm contemplating, hey, do I hide a card here and deramp myself? No. All right, I need to be diligent here. I need to catch DJ when I can, so I do not hide a card. All right, so in this case, I have 3 up. I'm not going to use anything, most likely. He just plays Immobilize, and I'm effectively just going to let him. He actually mobilizes twice. I'm like, oh, poor guy. He doesn't know what's coming. So he kills my Kaisa. Master Yi, I let it happen. I need to go to 7 in this case. All right, so he does that. He does his Candlelit proc. My turn, baby. You know what time it is. All right, so I move the Poro up because I need it on a battlefield to play Hidden Blade, and I need to potentially summon something there after I hook, right? So I'm going to DJ, I'm going to Hidden Blade. I have one left over because Darius Leader. I cast it, I hook something. We are cooking with grease here. Opponent is up 2 to my 3, and we are looking good. I hide the DJ with the floating mana. I play DJ. I have Draven and a Spectrum Agent in hand. I have one up to cast hook on that Poro. This is going to be really good. Opponent just had to clarify something on Divine Judgment here. As we go through, he's going to recycle down to 2 cards. He disciplines to draw a card for some reason, just to kind of filter his deck out a bit to make sure he gets the best 2 possible cards in hand. And we are off to the races. So I hook the Poro. Perfect scenario here. 2 drops are great to hook in this list because we can hit Dravens, we can hit Vanguard Captains. So yes, we take Dravens. We like the Dravens, all right? He is currently, I keep him in base for now because I need to be able to have the option to attack in the Master Yi side if necessary to get some extra points out of this. I do draw another Divine Judgment here, which is pretty useless, but I'm at 4. I can do the tried and true 4-drop Spectrum Matron and to hook something again, which is awesome. Right, so I play Spectrum Matron, of course, get the Vanguard Captain, our homie, out, and then we hook the Vanguard Captain again, see what else we get. Another Draven. Man, what is the opponent going to do about this? Nothing. That's what he's going to do. Nothing. He's at 4. Can't do anything here. If he moves over, he has to have a Defy in hand to deal with our hidden card. He plays Meditation instead because he doesn't have a Defy. He can't deal with it. We have 2 Dravens in base, which is currently at 5 points. There are 8 points, or 8 might each. What can he do here? So I'm like, all right, so if he has 4 up. If he plays Primal Roar, how am I going to deal with that? I really need to get to point parity here so I can win the subsequent turn. So I move both Dravens, and I'm deciding on the Spectrum Matron. I'm doing the math. I'm saying, all right, go. This is how I'm sending it because I have my 16 to your 6 plus 2 is 8, and then if he plays Primal, it goes to 15. So even if he plays Primal there, he's only at 15. Both Dravens guaranteed to clear this. Fantastic. The only out there is like Rune Prison plus buff or something like that to get me off of it, and that's it. So, so this looks good. I'm happy. He didn't have the cards in hand because we had made him recycle and whatnot. I go to 6. We're playing to win next turn. I play the Noxus Hopeful to hook something. Get another Spectral Matron here. This is bread and butter stuff, guys. Get the Spectral Matron. Get the Vanguard Captain back out. Had this crazy board post Divine Judgment. Double Draven, 2 Spectral Matrons, multiple Vanguard Captains hidden on the battlefield. This is so good. Even if he summons this Deadwind Predator here, it doesn't kill the Draven, so he has to put it on the other side. I kill it. I pay the defect cost. GG. What are you going to do, Master Yi? Nothing. That's what you're going to do. This recording, guys, I actually forgot to turn the recording on, and I was so mad at myself because it was such a perfect opener, all right? Opponent plays Obelisk. I open my hand with DJ in it, and I look at my cards, and none of the cards in my hand cost power. I'm like, all right, I could go from 3 to 5 to 7, have a turn 3 DJ. I'm like, oh, man, this is great, and I forgot to turn the recording on before the match started. I was so mad at myself, but this is so good. So we start off with me going first. I play 2 units because he has Obelisk, so I play double Glory Seeker, and I have DJ, and I'm like, man, this is so good. I am so happy in this case. So I play my double Glory Seeker, goes to his turn, he passes. Didn't hit a ramp card. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Do the math, guys. Misfortune going second on Obelisk goes to 4. If they play Catalyst, they go to 6, which means next turn they go to 8, which means that they cannot play Aurora till turn 3. It requires exactly 1 or 2 Catalysts and 1 Catalyst and 1 Mobilize to be able to beat my DJ. So they need to play 2 ramp cards effectively to beat my DJ, which is impossible when they're going second. They can't do it. It's not possible, right? So my turn 3 is always a DJ here. I'm never going to sacrifice that. So let's see how this plays out. All right, so then I attack one battlefield. He doesn't gust me. I'm like, sure, I don't care, whatever. I see a Draven. Draven, too early for you, buddy. Can't play you for a while, so you're just going to go to the bottom. I'm going to get 2 points. I am going to play a Glory Seeker and just say pass because I don't want to play my Vanguard Captain because I'm casting Divine Judgment next turn. Don't forget, that's the whole plan here, guys. So I'm not, even though I have 2 Legion effects that I'm not using right now, technically 3 if you count the leader, not using them because I need my DJ to be next turn. So here he goes. He plays Trove, tries to play Ramp, tries to play stuff. He goes up a little bit to, 7 because he ramped off Trove. And I'm like, oh man, this is perfect. And all right, I pull 1 back to base. I leave 1 here. I leave 1 at a battlefield because I have a hidden card. I want to use this hidden card. I'm like, oops, let me hide this first. But yes, DJ is going off. I have 2 units. I have to kill 1 of my Glory Seekers here. And then with my floating power. And I have my head cards. My Glory Seeker gets recycled back to the bottom of my deck. And now Aurora is stuck with nada. Whole lot of nothing. All right, I already have a 4-point lead. We're only going to 8. He is not going to be able to cast his Aurora for a long time, right? And now I have cards to play. So I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, I'm just going to play this Hopeful and pass because why not? I'm not in a rush to do anything here. I can hand dump next turn if he deals with me somehow. And he already says new game, and we start up a new game, and he's like, you know what? I actually quit. He actually just left. After this, because he's like, you know what, I'm out of here. I don't want to play against this Divine Judgment because it beats me so bad. So that's simple, guys. I didn't have to do much. I didn't have to do anything fancy. I didn't have to have Hook. I didn't have to have Draven. I didn't have to have Darius. I did the math. Obelisk going first. I saw the opening in my hand with DJ and double Trifarian Glory Seekers that I didn't have to spend any runes and I could capture points, and there's not much he could do about it. So it worked out absolutely perfect. All right, so I've given you a sneak peek on the deck in action. You've seen some of the lines, you've seen the sequencing, you've seen the sideboard plans, and you've seen exactly why this version of Darius really just kind of bullies the top decks. If you try this list out, let me know how it goes, and seriously, don't give up on after a couple of rough games, especially if you're newer to Darius, because this is pretty high level, advanced level tech here. But once you get a feel for the Divine Judgment turns and all the hidden card sequencing, everything really starts clicking into place, and the deck feels absolutely unreal to play against the best decks in the game right now. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, hit subscribe. If you're looking for advice or want to help with your own lines or want help with matchups, just drop a comment and I'm really happy to help you out. But that's it for me, guys, here. I'll catch you guys in the next video. I will be sure to release as much content as possible for you guys if you like this. So I'll see you around.